Hey guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Amit and this is the new 2021 Audi Q5 which has come to India as a 2022 model since we are already at the fag end of 2021. Now this car was discontinued when BS6 norms kicked in and the BS6 version did not come in, but now with the BS6 version and a slew of changes, this car has been reintroduced. It has been one of my most favorite cars in this segment because of its practicality, its size and the beautiful Quattro system. So let's talk about what all is new and how well it stacks up with its primary competitors, which are the BMW X3 and the Mercedes GLC. Let's get started. But before we get started, if you like long format videos where you get all the information about cars, where you don't have to go to any other channel to find details, hit that like button, subscribe to Motoroids and always put Motoroids in your searches. Let's get started now. And the biggest change, as is sufficiently evident, is this single frame grille, which is octagonal, looks much bigger. It's not as deep, it's shallower and gives this car a more imposing, even brawnier face. You have 6 vertical slats here and the elements inside the grille have also been changed. Another big change here is the headlights, which are not matrix LEDs unfortunately. Only the DRL styling has changed and the visual elements have changed, but you don't get matrix technology here. From what we understand, that will come at a later point in time as a part of the product life cycle, and it may be introduced as a novelty after some time. Now, it's an all LED light, very functional, very bright, and on the left you have the low beam with projector and on the right you have the high beam, which is not a projector, which is just a reflector. Apart from that, if you look at these 4 intakes, these are also new and these are slightly bigger with this satin silver insert here. This thing that you see here is a dummy, and all in all, the Q5 to me personally has always looked one of the more imposing cars in the segment. The X3, although if you look at the dimensions, it's not small, but somehow the design of the X3 doesn't make it come across as a very butch SUV. The Audi Q5 has always looked one of the bigger, wider and taller cars, and its handsome proportions continue with the 2021 version as well, and it does look one of the nicest cars in its segment. Now, you have this 4 skid plate here, which is done in satin silver. The one complaint that I have here is that you don't have any 360-degree camera, and this is something that really worries me sometimes, that if all the cars, even in sub 10 lakh rupee segment, are offering features like 360-degree camera and whatnot, why don't premium car makers don't offer such features as hygiene? And this is not specific to Audi. This complaint is with all the German manufacturers. So my request would be to offer these features as standard now, because the game has changed. Now, while I have a complaint with this car not having a front camera, same thing cannot be said about these washers, which are available and a great feature to have, and they clear the lens when they get mucky if you're driving in rainy conditions. This car gets front parking sensors, which is fantastic, and of course it does look very premium and has a solid road presence. In fact, it is one of the best looking cars in its segment and looks very tall, very muscular and very handsome as well. On the side, the changes are minimal. If you look at that beautiful flowing line with this signature little gap that you see over the arches, it's a very Audi thing. So all of that is pretty much the same. The height of the car has not changed, the width has not changed, the wheelbase of course is the same. However, if you look at it, the length has increased by 19 mm. So that's an increment. The wheels here are also now all new, 19-inch wheels, and they look rather nice. This sill insert that you see here is also new. And while on the international versions, there has been a slight increase in terms of ground clearance, for the Indian version, it's more or less the same. There's no change. You have these blinkers, which are LED units on the ORVMs, satin silver roof rails, and a very big greenhouse area to let a lot of light come in. You feel like you're sitting in a very spacious car when you're sitting inside the Q5, and that big greenhouse area is obviously one of the big reasons. There is a shark fin antenna if you look at the rear of the car, and it comes with a really huge panoramic sunroof, and I'm going to show you how it looks from the inside as well. But it really opens up the skies for you and is a mentionable feature. Now, as I mentioned, there is no 360-degree camera here, so no camera units under the ORVM as well. At the rear there have been some changes, and these tail lamp units that you see here are all new as well. LED units, these essentially are the units which are lit while you're driving, and when you press the brakes, this upper stack lights up. I really think that the lighting on Audi cars has always been standout, and it's no different on the Audi Q5 as well. And when lit, these lights do give it a signature look, which always makes Audi cars stand apart in the crowd. Apart from that, the bumper shape is also different, and you have this satin silver faux bash plate here. And apart from that, you also have this slightly glossier satin silver finish on the lower part of the bumper as well. You have these fog lights here, and you also get this reverse light here. Now, another piece is this satin silver unit which is connecting the two LED lights, and this car from the rear looks even better than before, and they have done a great job. The changes are not very drastic, but do lend this car an even wider stance, and it looks really nice. Now, the only camera that you have on this car is right here, the rear view camera, and I'll talk about it in detail once we get inside. You get a 45 TFSI badging here, and of course it's a Quattro. It comes with an all-wheel drive, one of the best all-wheel drive systems in its class or anywhere. And the boot here can either be opened using this really nice and slim key. So you can either press this button twice to lift that electric gate, or you can shut it using this button. But in case you have any stuff in your hand, you can also swing your leg under the rear bumper to make it open. Now, the boot here is also very capacious. Although the capacity has not changed, it's still 550 liters, but that's more than enough for a big family to go for a very long holiday. So in terms of practicality and space, this car really stands out. On the inside also, the space is really good, and that's one thing I really like the Audi Q5 for. Even the loading area is not too deep. It's very easy to slide stuff in and bring it out. And this shiny metal piece that you see here is also hard wearing, so even if you are sliding in some suitcases, it doesn't get scratched very easily. Under the boot floor, you'll see that you'll get only a space saver, and this, like a few other cars in the segment, is a bit of a bummer again for me, because I think that these cars should be used for your outings with your family, and you cannot rely on these space savers. So that's again one of my problems with all the German manufacturers. Please provide bigger full-size spares and engineer that into the car so that we don't have to rely on these space savers. Anyway, as I mentioned, the boot space is really nice, one of the biggest USPs of this car. Although the other cars in the segment also have 550 liters, but this is very square and very usable. You also have this parcel tray here which can be extended or stored away like this, and the rear seat is 40-20-40 split, and you have these levers here which can be used to drop the seats, and that again is a great convenience. Illumination is provided on either side, and you also have these nets to prevent your stuff from rolling around, and you have these two pockets to put a bottle or some other stuff that you have. These two hooks are also there where you can probably hang a plastic bag. Now, as I showed you before, this key is really sleek, slim, and yet feels rather heavy, feels very high quality, and it's a comfort access key, which means that you really don't have to take it out of your pocket. Just yank the door handle and you can get in. Now, the doors really feel solid, and why not? It's an Audi, and there is a really wide opening for you to get in. There is a puddle lamp underneath, and apart from that, what you'll see here is that there is this very nice piano black insert which has been introduced, and you have soft to touch materials including leather in places where your arms, your elbows, your hands are going to be in contact with the various panels. The upper part is of course soft to touch. This part where your arm will rest on the armrest is even softer, and even lower down the door panel, the quality of the plastic is soft to touch. Only inside you get hard plastic, so the quality has been well taken care of, and there is sufficient space here to store a 1.5 liter or even 2 liter water bottle. So in terms of practicality, no problem whatsoever. You also have a boot release button here, electrically adjustable ORVMs which are heated and folding also, so a great functionality for the times when you will be driving during the rains. All the windows are one touch up and down, and you get two-way memory for the driver's seat also. Now remember, this is only for the driver's seat, and while the passenger seat is electric and has lumbar support as well, it doesn't get a memory function, as that covered area on the panel would tell you. These scuff plates are backlit. And a word about the seats. They are leather/leatherette seats, which means that the areas where you will be in contact with the seat, like your posterior or your back, all the areas where the seat is in touch with you is leather, but areas where you are not in contact with the seat are leatherette. So for example, this area where I won't be in contact with the seat, in direct contact with the seats, is leatherette. So it's a combination of leather and leatherette, and that's something that you need to be aware of. As I mentioned, the seats are electric, and apart from fore, aft and recline function, seat height, you also get four-way lumbar adjustability, which is great. And you also get this fantastic Bang & Olufsen system, which has 19 speakers, 755 watts of output, and a 16-channel amp, and it's one of the best systems that you can get in this segment, including, I would say, the Volvo XC60 also, which has a Bowers and Wilkins system and is among one of the best in this segment. But this one also rocks. All the light controls are here, along with all-weather lights and control for the fog lamps. The pedals don't have any metal on them, and they are traditional type, and you also obviously have a dead pedal. Now this dashboard and most of the stuff here looks very familiar. However, there are some very significant changes that have been made to the interior. But before I get to that, I would want to mention this, which is the steering. Of course, it's tilt and telescopically adjustable, but it's not electric, which again is a bit of a bummer for me. And this happens with, again, all the cars in this segment except for maybe the Volvo XC60. And again, my request to all the premium car manufacturers would be to create differentiation by adding such features. Anyway, the virtual cockpit is fabulous as ever. It's one of the best systems in its class and very intuitive, very informative. And we have seen this on enough Audi cars, and it still is as fabulous as it always was. Now, about the changes. This screen now is much bigger than what it used to be. Not just that, it is high resolution, and the modular infotainment platform, or the architecture that powers this infotainment system, is 10 times powerful than the system that it replaces. So it's a far more advanced system, and it has replaced the previous small screen. But before we talk about the details, I would like to show you the resolution. This resolution could definitely have been a little bit better. It shows you whatever is there, but I believe that the pixel density and the clarity could have been a little bit better. But this infotainment system by itself is fabulous, and now like some of the other Audi cars, you have a very familiar user interface, which is one of the easiest in this class or anywhere else to operate. And this comes with an acoustic response. As you would have seen in some other Audi cars, we also had haptic feedback, but here you don't have haptic feedback, you have just acoustic feedback. You have navigation, and the audio system here is fantastic. This system is very familiar, so I don't need to be getting into the details, but it's very easy and one of the most responsive in its class or beyond. So fantastic job done by Audi. A familiar stack of buttons here. You can choose from various different drive modes. As you can see, you can choose from off-road, efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic and individual. So all of these modes are available. There is no air suspension available here, but in dynamic or off-roading modes, the dampers can stiffen or loosen based on the requirement, and that basically makes the suspension slightly soft or firm. They are also adaptive, so while you're going fast around corners, they do apply some force on the opposite side so that you don't feel the body roll. So all of that tech has been incorporated in the drive system of this car, and which obviously works very beautifully.
The Q5 now comes with a 30-color ambient lighting system, which is a completely new addition to the car.
Another big change is that the touchpad that you had along with a dial has been deleted from here, and that has revealed some space. So you can put your wallet in this space. There is another crevice here where you can probably put your wallet if you so wish, but both these spaces, I believe, are not big enough for a cell phone. This space also is good enough only for a small cell phone. If you have a big cell phone, this is not probably going to accommodate it. However, this car comes with the Audi phone box, which utilizes the antenna to receive signals and enhances the reception of your phone. It also comes with a wireless charger, and this thing slides, so if you slide it forward, there is a lot of space where you can either put your cell phone or your wallet or whatever else you have, so no complaints there. You have two cup holders as well and a USB Type-C socket as well, so very well thought out. And in addition to all of that, this armrest is sliding and adjustable for height as well, so you stay comfortable on long drives. You have volume control here, and this stack here is for hill descent, parking sensors, and of course this car comes with park assist, which allows this car to park itself if you show it a parallel or perpendicular parking slot. Traction control off, auto start stop off, and drive select. As you can see, this section here is for air conditioning, and it comes with a 3-zone air conditioning, so that again is a great feature. And all of these buttons are very intuitive, they are very tactile, very well built, and you won't require any learning time on these. So in typical Audi fashion, it's all very high quality and very intuitive, very high tech. And this little crevice is flanked by the engine start stop button, a traditional USB socket rather, and a cigarette lighter, which is also a 12-volt socket. The glove box is quite cavernous and it's illuminated. It has this very velvety material inside, although this is not cooled. This inlay that you see here though, in high quality piano black finish, is new, and you also have the Quattro branding here, so that's a change. But overall, this space remains as high quality as it always was, and it's one of the best cabin spaces in this segment. Very high quality, very well built, and very high tech as well. As I mentioned when I was outside the car, this car also comes with a really enormous panoramic sunroof, and that really adds to the experience. One of the biggest sunroofs in the segment, and to put the blinds on, you just need the press of a button, and the front panel goes all the way back as well, so you can allow a lot of fresh air also to come in. And then of course you have these lights which are touch sensitive, fantastic. Then you have vanity mirrors with illumination and a toll ticket holder here, and similar arrangement on the other side also, sans a toll ticket holder, which is not required on the other side. Auto dimming mirrors, a beautifully crafted headliner. This car also comes with adjustable seat belt height, so that again is a great thing. Overall, in terms of comfort, I've driven the Audi Q5 for very long distances. Even its previous generation, it was one of the most comfortable cars, and in this generation also, if you're looking for something that you can use on a day-to-day basis, something which is very practical, big, spacious, there are very few cars that come close to the Audi Q5. It's really a very practical, very well built car, and these seats are fantastic. I can vouch for the fact that this is one of the most comfortable, one of the most practical cars that you'll ever buy. So in that sense, I just love this dashboard, the seats, and the overall ambience that you have. But apart from the positives, there are some negatives also, and there are a few features that should have been here. I've already mentioned a 360-degree camera setup, and this car also, apart from the park assist, doesn't have any advanced driver assist features. Again, if it doesn't have an ADAS, it doesn't look very good on all these premium cars. Now, what I understand is that all these premium car makers for the Indian market want to be 100% sure that the systems work as desired, and while that's something which will go down well with people who are buying in the lower segment, where even if it doesn't work, they have something to flaunt, makers like BMW, Audi and Mercedes want their systems to work, and that's one of the reasons why they don't offer these systems. It's more than cost cutting, it's about making it work right. And our road conditions, our road markings, you know, the bad quality of our roads doesn't really allow these systems to work properly. But still, I would really want these systems on a premium car, and that's a bit of a complaint that I have. I want more ADAS systems on these cars as well. In terms of safety, you obviously don't have to bother about anything. It's a Q5, it's very safe, 8 airbags, and there are very few other cars which can be as safe as the Audi Q5, so no complaints whatsoever. Now let's get to the back seat and see how much space and what features we have there. Now, just like the front, the rear doors also feel really solid. Although they are not as wide as the front, you get these window blinds, which comes in handy on a hot sunny day like this. And overall, the layout and all the materials are similar to the front. At the rear also you have space for a big 1.5 liter water bottle, and the seat height also is pretty accessible. So even if you are not too tall, it's quite easy to get in. And once you get in, you have tons and tons of space in terms of headroom, in terms of legroom. There is absolutely no complaints when it comes to the comfort on the Audi Q5's back seat. The suspension is also very well tuned, and apart from that, the seat also reclines to a certain angle. So for long journeys, that's a plus. The seats also slide fore and aft, and while that utility is primarily for increasing the boot area, once you flip all the seats down, the space, which is 550 liters, is extended to 1550 liters. And as I mentioned before, the seats are 40, 20, 40 split. And using this little button here, you can drop the central armrest down completely and access whatever you have there in the boot. So that again is a great feature to have. You have an armrest which is really wide, comes with 2 flip out cup holders, and is really nice and wide, so the elbows of the 2 side passengers are never going to brush. On the side you get these touch enabled lights, coat hooks, handle, another coat hook, and of course isofix child seat mounts, a proper 3-point seat belt for the middle passenger, and of course you get a 3-zone air conditioning with rear AC vents. So all of that is fantastic. You also get a 12-volt power socket. What I really would have wanted here is some USB sockets as well, so that the passengers who are sitting at the rear could charge their cell phones or any other electronic equipment. The front seats are scooped out, so there is ample knee room. In terms of comfort, I really don't have any problem for the side 2 passengers, although this huge hump here will not allow the central passenger to sit for too long. And if you're sitting here, first, the seat is not too wide or too comfortable. This armrest also doesn't give you very good cushioning for the backrest. So this middle seat is used only for very short journeys, and only the side passengers are going to travel in comfort, which is befitting of an Audi Q5. All 3 passengers get their individual headrests, which are adjustable. And while I showed you how to drop the seats down by using the levers at the back, you can also drop these seats down by using this lever here and make space to move houses if you so wish. Now in terms of comfort and space, these seats are second to none, except of course the Discovery Sport, where you don't have more space here, but that's the only car in the segment which offers you 2 extra seats at the back, of course at the expense of the boot space. But if you're looking for 7 seats in this segment, then that's one car that you can probably look at. Apart from that, it's one of the most comfortable cars to travel in. Plenty of headroom, shoulder room and leg room, and that's one of the reasons why the Audi Q5 has always been one of my favorites in this segment. Now the one thing that you really have to love about the Q5 is that despite being a very premium, very road oriented kind of an SUV, which gives you a very premium feel, very luxurious feel, on days like this where you want to do a bit of soft roading, where you want to go off the road, there's no problem. There's sufficient traction available even if the conditions are a little bit challenging. So it really makes for a very versatile car to use on a day-to-day basis. And even if you're going out with your family, where on locations like this where you would rather want to take your car a little bit off the road so that you get a better view, the Quattro system, the increased ground clearance and the rugged suspension does come in handy. Now that's the story while you are slightly off the road. Of course this is not an off-roader, but the moment you get onto the road like we are right now, it simply transforms itself and it acts almost like it were a sedan. You know, the kind of refinement, the kind of body control that you get on these modern SUVs is simply mind-boggling, and it really gives you the best of both the worlds. So whether it's these windy roads or a straight highway, you can really enjoy yourself. And as I mentioned, whenever you want to go off the road a little bit, you don't have to think twice. Now the engine here, as I mentioned, is the same 2-liter TFSI engine, but now it's in the BS6 avatar. The power output here is 249 HP and it's produced between 5000 and 6000 RPM, and the torque here is 370 Newton meters and is produced between 1600 and 4300 RPM. So it's a very wide band and starts at a very low point. That torque is also the best in class. There is no other car in this segment that offers so much torque, and it really translates into its performance. The 0 to 100 kilometers per hour sprint is taken care of in a very swift 6.3 seconds, and the top speed here is 237 kilometers per hour, which is one of the best in the segment again. Now this engine and transmission combo has always been a delight to operate, and this 2-liter TFSI engine is smooth as silk, and the S-Tronic 7-speed transmission lends it the swiftness that it deserves. So all in all, it's one of the best systems in this segment, and there is absolutely no way I can complain about it. Power is available from lower down the rev range. There is ample torque available. You put the pedal down and power is available right from the word go. That's all the power that you're going to need in the real world. And it revs very intently all the way to 7,000 RPM where the red line is. So it's quite a joy to drive this car. Although the steering, in my personal opinion, could have been a little bit on the heavier side. If you compare it back to back with the X3, you'd instantly feel that the X3 has a little bit more involvement. The steering also is a little bit more alive, but having said that, this car is also a lot of fun around the bends. It has a very reassuring set of 4 wheels. The Quattro really lends it the kind of grip that makes the car really fun to drive, and you can really rely on the technology on this car if you're going around a set of bends enjoying yourself. The engine also makes a beautiful sound note, and anywhere about 3,500 RPM, you'd really love the sound, the muffled, slightly sporty sound that it emanates. And if you're on a set of bends like this, the Q5 is not going to disappoint you. Now, while this is a great fun to drive car, what makes it even better is that while you're driving it over a bad patch of roads or over a rough surface, it doesn't come across as too jolting or too jarring. The suspension here has been set up beautifully, and it's very compliant. It'll keep all the occupants inside the car very comfortable. And whether you're driving on a very smooth surface like this, or if you're taking the car off the road, going up a hill just to get a better vantage point, this car feels perfectly at home. So it's a very versatile car that way. So in terms of suspension, very suitable for our kind of conditions. Very practical. Yes, probably a wee bit less involving than the BMW, but a lot more practical, a lot more usable, and a lot more comfortable. Another great thing about this car is that the ARAI fuel efficiency certification on this car gives it the best fuel efficiency in this segment, and by some margin. It gets an ARAI rating of 17 kmpl, and if you compare it with the other cars in the segment, the other cars have about 12 or 13 kmpl, but it has a solid advantage there, at least in terms of ARAI. And this is something that I've said in the past as well, that the 2-liter TFSI engine and the other TSI engines by the Volkswagen group are very fuel efficient, some of the most fuel efficient petrol engines that you'll find anywhere. And I really believe that this car does offer great fuel efficiency. So if you're going to be driving it gingerly, it's going to give you 13-14 kmpl very easily, and if you're going to be driving it with a heavy right foot, the fuel efficiency will probably go down below 10, but still for such a huge car, this is a very good number. And if you're going to be driving on the highway in the efficiency mode, where you really want to save fuel, this can actually deliver you 16-17 kmpl, which is phenomenal for this kind of a car. So in terms of fuel efficiency also, this is one of the better cars to buy in this particular segment. So in essence, if you're looking for a do-all kind of a car, something that gives you good fuel efficiency, has good traction on all 4 wheels, can be driven in different weathers, somewhat off the road as well, drives very well, has good acceleration, and feels really nice and comfortable, it really ticks all the boxes. And in my books, this has to be one of the best engine transmission combos in this segment. The refinement level, the NVH control, all of that is fantastic. So no complaints whatsoever. My only grouse is that there is no diesel. I really love diesels. I am a diesel guy, and that's something that I miss on Audi cars now, because I have really had great, really beautiful, amazing fond memories on some Audi diesels, and I really wish that a diesel option was also offered here. Although diesels are slowly going to be taken off by most of the manufacturers, but at this point in time, BMW, Mercedes and Land Rover in their respective cars are offering that option. Although purely from a petrol variant perspective, I think that the Audi Q5 really aces it. Now, of all the cars that we have in this segment, the Mercedes GLC comes with a petrol engine, which is the least powerful, and it also doesn't come with an AWD. So let me just write it off, although it's selling the most in the segment, but I have my reservations about that car in terms of what it offers. The BMW X3 is a driver's delight, and in terms of power and performance and with the AWD, it definitely goes toe to toe with the Q5, although it is expected to be a bit more expensive than this car when the prices are announced. Now, if you want to go with all the technology, all the ADAS systems, then the XC60 is the car that you should probably be going for, but it doesn't have as strong a brand value as the Mercedes and the BMWs and the Audis of the world. Finally, the Land Rover Discovery Sport is another car which is slightly expensive, but it offers you the advantage of 2 extra seats. But if you want to buy a car which does most things right, has one of the most potent engines, one of the most fuel efficient engines, has tons of space inside, and has probably the best looking exterior and the best looking stance of all the cars in this segment, the Audi Q5 presents itself as one of the most well-rounded packages, and from what I understand, it is going to cut its current competition by some margin when the prices are announced. So if you're looking for a car in this segment with a petrol powertrain, the Audi Q5 is something that you cannot not have a look at before you make your buying decision. I really hope that I was able to give you all the answers to the questions that you have in your mind about this new product from Audi. Still, if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section and I'll be very happy to be answering all your questions personally. If you like these long format videos, do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Motoroids, and until next time, this is Amit Shangani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and ride safe.